Today, we're journeying into Spain's past. Not the Spain of sunny beaches and bustling cities, but a Spain of kings and queens, of dynasties, alliances, betrayals, and crowns. Our story begins in the Middle Ages. Back then, the Iberian Peninsula wasn't a single nation, but a mosaic of kingdoms. To the north, you had Castile, Aragon, Leon, and Navarre. To the south stood the last Muslim stronghold, the Kingdom of Granada. These realms were in a state of constant conflict, but they also wove intricate webs of marriage that tied one dynasty to another. The real turning point came in 1469. A wedding took place that would change everything. Isabella of Castile married Ferdinand of Aragon. To their subjects, it was simply the union of two powerful monarchs. But to history, it was the union of two kingdoms. From this moment on, Spain began its long transformation from a patchwork of rival realms into a single, unified crown. So, how did Isabella and Ferdinand manage to unite Spain where so many others had failed? The answer lies in three key elements: faith, conquest, and marriage. Let's start with faith. For centuries, the Reconquista had raged across the peninsula, as one Christian kingdom after another pushed back against Muslim rule. In 1492, Isabella and Ferdinand achieved the final victory. Their armies marched into Granada, ending nearly 800 years of Islamic power in Iberia. To celebrate, they commissioned a new symbol of unity. The Catholic Church would now stand as the spiritual foundation of the Spanish crown. Next, conquest. In that same pivotal year of 1492, a certain Christopher Columbus, under their patronage, set sail west across the Atlantic. He didn't find a new route to India, but he did reach the Americas, opening the door to an empire that stretched far beyond Iberia's shores. Within just one generation, Spain wouldn't just dominate the peninsula. It would command oceans, trade routes, and vast colonies across the New World. And third, there was marriage. The Catholic monarchs were masters of dynastic politics, using their children as instruments of diplomacy. One daughter married into the royal house of Portugal, another into the powerful Tudor dynasty of England, and yet another, Joanna of Castile, better known to history as Juana la Loca, or Joanna the Mad-Married Philip of Burgundy, heir to the mighty Habsburg dynasty. This union, more than any other, would transform Spain's destiny forever. When Ferdinand and Isabella's grandson Charles inherited the throne, he received not only Spain but also the vast Habsburg lands. He became Charles I of Spain, but he was also crowned Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor. For the first time in history, a single crown ruled territories stretching from Austria to the Low Countries, from Italy to the Americas. Spain was no longer just a regional power. It was the heart of a truly global empire. But every crown carries a price. Charles spent his entire reign fighting wars on all fronts, against France, against the Ottoman Empire, and against the rising Protestant princes of Germany. To fund these endless conflicts, he drained Spain's treasury, which was being filled with silver and gold taken from the New World, worn out by a lifetime of war. Charles eventually abdicated and split his empire in two. Austria and the Holy Roman Empire went to his brother Ferdinand. Spain and all its colonies went to his son Philip II. Philip II is often remembered as the most powerful king in Spanish history. He ruled not just Spain, but also Portugal, Naples, Milan, and the immense American colonies. In 1580, when he inherited the Portuguese throne, Spain controlled more territory than any other power on earth. His motto was simple and proud: the empire on which the sun never sets. But even for Philip, shadows were gathering. His strategic marriage to Mary Tudor of England ended with her death, leaving no heir to unite the two crowns. His invincible armada, sent to crush the Protestant Queen Elizabeth I, was famously destroyed in 1588, shattering Spain's claim to undisputed naval dominance. At home, he poured his resources into building the massive monastery palace of El Escorial, a somber symbol of both his deep piety and his absolute power. From Philip II onward, the Spanish crown began its slow, painful decline. The 17th century brought a series of weak kings, devastating wars, and severe economic troubles. Yet through it all, the Habsburg dynasty clung to the throne. The dynasty's final collapse came with Charles II, a man known as the Bewitched King. Sickly, childless, and tragically incapable of ruling, Charles II was the end of the line. His death in 1700 left no direct heir, sparking the brutal War of the Spanish Succession as Europe's great powers fought over the prize. Out of that long and bloody war, a new dynasty emerged, the Bourbons. Philip V, the grandson of France's powerful Sun King, Louis XIV, became the new king of Spain. The Bourbons brought with them a wave of reforms. They centralized the monarchy, modernized the administration, and rebuilt the military. But they also tied Spain's fate ever closer to France, a relationship that sometimes worked to Spain's advantage and sometimes to its ruin. The 18th century was a time of relative recovery, but the 19th century plunged the country into chaos. Napoleon invaded Spain, and the royal family was humiliated. When Ferdinand VII was restored to the throne, he ruled as a reactionary absolute monarch, a decision that plunged Spain into a series of bitter civil wars known as the Carlist Wars. By the 20th century, the very idea of monarchy was under attack. The bloody Spanish Civil War in the 1930s ended not with a king, but with the rise of a dictator, General Francisco Franco. The crown was abolished, and Spain was locked into a dictatorship for nearly 4 decades. But even Franco, the ultimate autocrat, understood the symbolic power of the throne. Before his death in 1975, he made a surprising move. He named Juan Carlos, the grandson of the last king, Alfonso XIII, as his successor. Many people expected Juan Carlos to simply continue Franco's authoritarian legacy. But instead, he chose a different path. He skillfully guided Spain away from dictatorship and toward democracy. In 1978, Spain adopted a new constitution. Juan Carlos became a constitutional monarch, not an absolute one. And so the Spanish crown survived not by clinging to absolute power, but by adapting to the modern world. Today, the throne belongs to King Felipe VI. His reign faces its own set of modern challenges, navigating political scandals, addressing separatist movements, and defining the role of a monarchy in 21st century Europe. Yet through it all, Spain's royal family remains a powerful symbol of continuity, carrying the memory of centuries of triumphs and tragedies. So when we look back at the long and dramatic history of Spain, what do we see? We see a story of divided kingdoms united by marriage, a global empire built on conquest and faith, a dynasty that rose to rule the world only to decline under the weight of its own greatness. From the Catholic monarchs to the Bourbons, from the Reconquista to the modern constitutional crown, Spain's throne has never been just a seat of power. It has been the stage on which the drama of an entire nation has unfolded. And that is the incredible legacy of Spain's royal story. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe for more stories from the past. See you next time.